It's Alex Belfield. We're back at Coronation Street talking to an old friend, William Roache. How are you?
Hello, Alex. Lovely to see you again.
It's nice to see you. And actually, I only saw you a few weeks ago at the London Palladium, and there you were on the big stage at the Palace of Show Business, introducing all different acts and doing your thing. Very different from Coronation Street. It must be nice for you.
Yeah, totally different. I mean, the London Palladium is the most famous variety theatre in the world. All the big American comedians come over there, and it has that reputation for being the great comedy play. Well, I'm from what we call legitimate theatre. As I said, that's the miserable side. So to go there, and I was told I've got about 3 minutes, literally, to entertain, and knowing it was a full house is very frightening, but also very exciting. And I must say, I was thrilled to bits. I got a wonderful ovation when I walked out, and they are a beautiful audience. And so I really enjoyed it. And then, of course, I know that I can't fail, however bad my joke is that I'm telling, because I've got Bernie Clifton coming along, goosing me in the background. So I know that I'm safe, for I won't be going into the comedian's graveyard there. But great experience and wonderful evening, and raised a lot of money.
The last time I spoke to you was about a year ago, and you're about to go on tour. How did that go?
I got an incredible reaction. You see, what a lot of people don't realise, my book is called Soul on the Street, S-O-U-L, and it isn't just another soap star's biog. I did that a few years ago. It's actually about my spiritual journey. So I've used my life as a clothesline, as it were, to hang on to what I was frightened of. I was worried about life, wanted to find out what it was all about. And whenever I go on programs like My Kind of Hymns and those sort of things, and I talk about we're all spiritual beings in a physical vehicle, you know, and reincarnation and things like that, I get incredible mail. There's an enormous number of people who are sort of in this middle. They want to follow their own religions, they're loyal, but they're not telling them what they need to know. So I don't belong to any group, any cult, any organisation. I'm just someone who's searching for the truth. So my book was just laying out how I understand everything at the moment, and it did get an incredible reception, I was delighted to say.
It's a very honest book, but it's a very risky book, because people in this PR world 2008 don't like to talk about what they really think and what they really feel.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think this is the problem. I mean, it's almost wrong to say God. I'm not a religious person. Don't get me wrong, I'm not at all. I'm just looking for the truth of what we are. But you're quite right. Everyone's so concerned with images and point scoring and getting messages over and all that. The real people are in there crying a lot of the time, just desperately wanting to learn. What people don't realise is if they just stopped, totally stopped, laid back, and let the true self to come through, that's your intuition, and you listen to that, that is your true self telling you what to do. And true happiness comes from allowing that to shine out. That's all it is. That is your spiritual self. And all that wants to do is to love and help and look after other people. And true happiness comes from looking after other people, not people confuse pleasure seeking with happiness. You won't get happiness from indulging in pleasures. You'll get a bit of satisfaction for a while, and then you get a hangover. True happiness just comes from that feeling in your heart that you're helping society, you're helping people, and you're listening to yourself. Your intuition is your most important guide. That is your spiritual self. Quieten yourself, listen to that, and then use your mind to follow it. You can't go wrong.
And is this a generational thing? Because it seems to me the youth today, particularly in your business, all want to look the same and sound the same and appeal to the same type of people. Individuality, which comes from what you were saying, it doesn't come easy, does it?
I think people feel the pressure, don't they, of having to conform. And conforming is strange as well, because you have to be... People want to be famous. Just that. They just want to be famous. Not for anything or by anything that you feel. If you just do that, it'll be a very shallow and very hollow victory. If you want to become good at something and the byproduct of that is you get well known, that is fine. But it should be a byproduct. True happiness comes from doing something and doing it well and helping others.
And how do you achieve that? If you're listening to this now and you're unhappy, is it about seeing the wood for the trees and knowing how to turn your own life around and seeing the very simple things that you can do to make your life happier and better?
Yes, it's an individual journey, and this is the problem. People say, well, prove to me that there's a God, or prove to me that reincarnation is a fact. I can't. It's an individual journey. We're all here to go through certain sets of problems from which we learn. And the harder the things you have to go through, the greater the lesson and the stronger you will be after. So you can almost say some awful thing you're going through is a gift, an opportunity to do something, well, not nice and not very pleasant. But if you relax on the fact that we're all spiritual beings, every human being is a spiritual being. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. And as such, you're immortal, and you go home to your spiritual realm, and nobody can kill you or actually harm you. It's only the ego that can be harmed. And the ego is full of pride and all sorts of things. You can't overnight stop things, but the first thing is to be quiet. Still yourself, sit back just for 10 minutes, leave your problems outside the door, just sit quietly and just drift and see what comes in. And then try to find your real self. Everything is inside. You will not find your happiness externally, you will find it internally. We often know this. You can have a whole set of problems, all worried about them, you have a good night's sleep, and suddenly you're not worried about them, but the problems are the same. Happiness is inside. Once you get peace in your own heart, caring for yourself, love yourself, because we're all beautiful people inside, everybody. And the more horrendous somebody is, the more love they need, because they've got a horrible exterior, but there's a beautiful thing inside that you're trying to talk to. It is an individual journey, but we can all do it, and just listen to your inner self.
And I suppose one of the other major problems today is staying in the moment. We all want bigger, better, more. It seems like we've come to a point now where the biggest car isn't big enough, the best holiday isn't best enough, and happiness isn't happy enough.
Give it all up. Give it away. Let the others get on with that. Lay back, sit on your lawn in your old deck chair or whatever you've got, and be happy. You will not find happiness in the bigger car, the bigger house. You'll find a bit of comfort, a little bit of pleasure, but only a little bit. You'll only find happiness through peace in your own heart. And forgiveness is the big one. Now, forgiveness is a very interesting thing. If somebody's done something horrible to you, you say, why should they get away with that? Why should I really hate them for that? Blah, blah, blah. They won't get away with it. We live under a law of cause and effect where we all get back what we give out. And if someone has done something horrible to you, they will have to learn that lesson. It isn't punishment, but they will have to learn that lesson. Whether or not you forgive them makes no difference at all. Not forgiving makes you bitter and twisted and angry. The minute you say, okay, I forgive you, and I can actually love you and feel sorry for you because you're going to have to go through something because of what you've done, but I love you for it and I forgive you, you release yourself. You're free. And once you learn to forgive, it's a wonderful, great freedom, and you begin to feel happy doing that. That's the start.
You've been on Coronation Street nearly 50 years. Do you find some of the younger members of the cast come to you for your pearls of wisdom and your advice?
I'd like to think so. There are one or two who have the understanding that very few know, don't even know about my book. But there are one or two who do, and I find in life it's the same. I never impose any of my thinking on anybody, ever. But if someone comes and asks me a question, I hopefully like to answer it. So one or two come, and the people are drawn to you. It's a fact of life that if you have an understanding and someone needs a bit of we've all got different needs and wants, someone will be drawn to you. And if someone crosses your path, there's a reason. There's no such thing as coincidence. There's a reason for everything. So if someone comes to you and asks you a question, you want to be able to give them the answer that they need, not quack out your great knowledge or think that you're important. You're not. They're probably far more. Everybody's important in their own right. But if someone comes to you, it's a responsibility, but also a wonderful opportunity to maybe help them go forward in the way that they should.
All right, we're going to take a piece of music and then we'll be back with William Roache, the king of Coronation Street. We're back with William Roache on your favourite local radio station, and it's been a year since we last spoke. What's the best thing that's happened to you then in the last year?
I think it is probably the reaction I got to my book. I got literally hundreds. I had to get special folders for them, realising there's so many people just in the middle and not particularly over-searching or under-searching, but they're just wanting to know. And all I'm on about is finding out the truth about life. And I got some wonderful letters, people saying how helpful it'd been. I just happened to be on a path that I discovered certain things, and those who were following on the path that I was on, my book has been helpful to them. There are others on different paths, and other people who will think my book's a load of rubbish. That's fine. They're on a different way. But finding out who you are and why you're here and what life is about, which is about refining and improving and allowing your spiritual side to shine out, just gives a whole purpose to everything.
And do you ever worry that some people will think you're bonkers? Certain people have brought out books, David Icke and people like that, and then they've become the object of ridicule. I don't think this is anywhere near what he was doing, because you actually aren't trying to ram your ideas down people's throats.
I'm afraid that is so. It's a very cynical world that we live in, but I'm not worried or fearful, because I know that what I'm searching for is the truth. You see, the word belief, it isn't my belief. My beliefs are of no consequence, neither are yours or anybody's beliefs. They're your own personal thing. And to do something for a belief, like people are going out and blowing people up for a belief, is a very dangerous thing. A belief is a stepping stone. It may be a truth, it may not. We should be setting out to turn our beliefs into truth. And if they're not, throw them away. Once you know a truth, then you act on that and you grow and you look forward to the next truth. Now, that's all I'm doing. I'm searching for the truth. Irrespective of me, these great truths stand up, like the law of cause and effect, the fact that reincarnation doesn't exist or not exist according to whether you believe in it. It is either a reality or it isn't. And to me, it was the only thing that made sense. Fortunately, as I went on and discovered more and more about being a spiritual being and the spiritual realms, I realized that reincarnation is, in fact, a reality, and is the only thing that makes sense in an unfair world. Why are people born in war-torn poverty as opposed to millionaire luxury? Where's the fairness?
But some people could say that that's just your opinion, and actually it's not fact, it's just because there's no proof. And of course, doubters with religion or spirituality or belief even will say, oh, well, give me the proof. And of course, you can't.
You can't. No, exactly. If people say, I don't believe you, I say, fine, that's fine. That's their particular position. I'm not saying you should believe me. All I'm saying is, I have set out to find out what is true. That's all I'm interested in. I'm not preaching, I'm not teaching, because I had a great fear of death. My father was a doctor and used to go out and treat people with polio before the vaccines, and I used to be petrified. Only by searching, and that I'm very grateful for that fear of death and a fear of infinity I had as well, because they led me to want to find out. So I now have absolutely no fear of death. On the contrary, I realise that we go to a far better place. This is the workshop, this is the school, this is where we have to go through the trials and tribulations, and we go to a very beautiful place that exists. Now, if someone comes up to me and says a load of old rubbish and it's a philosophy of convenience, okay, that's their opinion. That is fine. Others come up and say, how did you get about? And they'll start asking constructive questions. I'll say, well, I discovered this. It isn't my opinion. It isn't my belief. It is what I have found to be a truth. I'm not interested. I have to get rid of my own beliefs and my own opinions, because the truth is often not what they are. And this is why so many religions they suffer from theology. All the great religions have a golden thread coming through them. All of them said we must love everybody, we're all great spiritual beings, there is a wonderful life afterwards, and we must love and care for everybody. But man comes along with his theology, builds up his priestly class, and tries to interpret it into all sorts of dogma and ritual, and they become divisive. We are right and you are wrong. The great religions are not divisive. They've all said basically the same thing. So I'm not a religious person, and I'm just searching. And if something comes along and knocks off what I think is one of my truths, fine, I'll accept that. I'm continually unveiling the next bit of truth, and it has to be, you have to grow individually yourself. You have to refine yourself. You have to rid yourself of coarsenesses and certain things to raise your consciousness to be able to understand certain things. And then you get what I call realizations, and then you put those to the test of experience, and that is when you know it's a truth, when it's actually worked in the field of experience.
Very finally, on this matter, when did you become curious? When did this start? You mentioned your father earlier and his fascination with death through his job as a doctor. When did you start analysing things far deeper than maybe I do or somebody else might?
I didn't consciously do it till later on, but having looked back, I've done it ever since I could remember. I realised, even as a child, I was looking and I was inquiring and I was asking questions and not getting the right answers. I started to consciously be aware of it as I grew up into man, probably in my 20s in the army, and I was thinking about what are we doing here, and I began to search. Anyone who sets out looking will find things cross the path. Life is quite extraordinary like that. Books, a person, a comment, an article in a paper. If you want to find out, you just have to make the effort and it'll all be there.
And then for your fulfillment in life generally, where do you go from here? Have you made it? Are you still striving for it?
Oh, it's an infinite process. You never make it. You make progress, and then you're on to the next phase. It is an infinite, eternal process.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you today?
I'm a heck of a lot happier than I was when I was a young man. I've still got a long way to go.
And do you think that's a path that we all have to take, though, that actually you don't reach fulfillment and understanding and comprehension until you are that little bit older?
You, on this particular planet, incarnating here, you have to get to a point that's almost Christ-like before you don't need to come back. So you can see how far we've all got to go. This is a schoolroom, and just like in a school, you grow out of your kindergarten, you grow out of your primary and senior schools, and then you go to university. We're on that sort of process. And the earth here would take us to a certain point. When you get beyond that point, you carry on, but in other spheres of love and light, but it's an eternal and infinite process.
Very finally then, back to Coronation Street, where we all love and know you. Are you still as happy as you were a year ago? You've still got Blanche with you, making us all laugh. Still got Deirdre. There was a point where you nearly left, now you've come back. How's it going?
Brilliant. I have got the most wonderfully dysfunctional family I could possibly have. My daughter's in prison for murder. My son's a bigamist, and he returns with even more problems, I tell you. That's coming up soon. We've got Blanche sitting there mixing it. Ken and Deirdre are a bit dodgy. Long may it rain. It's really good. We're going to have a wonderfully miserable Christmas.
And are there going to be fireworks? What's going to happen? I know you can't say too much.
I can. There are going to be, there's a strong Barlow story, which at the moment is going to be around the return of my son Peter. Say no more. Trouble right down the line.
I mean, in the soap, you're such a quiet man, you're such an innocent man, you're such a lovely man, and this all seems to find you, doesn't it?
I'm sort of at the centre, trying to make sense and peace amongst this wonderful dysfunctional family, and I love it. It's really good. I like the comedy bits when I go to Roy's Rolls, and I've had some great bits there. I love the comedy, but I enjoy every minute of it at Coronation Street. I'm really proud of it. I'm thrilled to be in it. Retiring isn't an option for me while they want me, and while I can do it, I'll be here.
And this year, there was a moment where we thought you might even be on the other bus. Who'd have thought it? Ken Barlow swings the other way.
You see, no other show can draw on 48 years of its own history. I remember Ken as a young man writing that book, and they had that wonderful story of going to a university reunion. Everyone else had got their houses in Spain and had done well, and Ken was stuck in this little backwater. So he gets his novel out and he tries to recapture his youth, realise he's absolutely crap, and it's a bit of disappointment. But it's good to be able to do that. You can draw on your own. Even his first girlfriend, who I remember, appeared in that university thing. So it's really good.
Promise me one thing.
Yeah.
There isn't going to be a Ken-Sean relationship in this programme, is there?
You remember when Mike Baldwin was here, and we had every possible sexual connotation. He had an affair with my wife, I had an affair with his girlfriend, he married my daughter, I had an affair with the mother of his child, and so it went on. And I used to say then, the only thing that's left is the relationship between Ken and Mike, but it didn't happen, thank goodness. And you never know nowadays, and never say never, but I don't think so. William
Roache, thank you so much for talking to us. It's great to have you on the programme again. Good luck with your new book. It's called Soul of the Street. Back on tour at any point in the theatres?
I've been doing an audience in theatres around the country. There's one or two of those coming up. Doing a book tour now for the paperback of my book, in which is an extra chapter, I must say. Because of the hundreds of letters I got, I've put another chapter in the paperback answering some of those questions. So I hope people enjoy it. I hope it's helpful to them. Lovely talking to you. You're really good. You do your work. You know what you're doing. Not many people do nowadays, but you do. Well done.
That's very nice of you. William Roache, thank you very much.
Pleasure. Nice talking to you.